guys, today we're looking at Feastbringer, who is the 7th leader in the base game of Arcs. Feastbringer has 2 traits. The first trait is Charismatic. When you copy or pivot to secure a card, you may influence before or after you secure. Second, the Generous trait. To declare an ambition, you must give 1 guild card to your rival with the least power. You start with the Relic resource and a Material resource. For starting setup, it's slightly different. So in A, you have a city and 3 ships. In B, you have a city and 3 ships. And in C, you have 3 ships. So the difference is in B, you have a city instead of a starport. And in C, you have 3 ships. What to say about Feastbringer? Well, the charismatic ability really pushes Feastbringer to a court strategy, meaning that you can dominate the court and get a lot of cards very fast. How do you do that? Well, let's say someone leads with an aggression card. Feastbringer can play any card in their hand face down and look at the court. If there's any card without agents on it, they can put an agent on it beforehand with a secure and then secure. So this is like the Psionic Relic combo that we've talked about a few different times. This is built into the Feastbringer card. So you can easily gobble up Vox cards to take their one-time effects. You can take Union cards, you can take Cartel cards, you can take all kinds of cards as they pop up. So if anyone is on the table and they finally secure the card that they were going at with a different player, and then Feastbringer's next, whatever card that just flipped over, no one had a chance to influence, Feastbringer now gets a chance and can just take it without anyone contesting. What about the Generous ability? Well, this can be pretty tough for Feastbringer, to be fair. So, in order to declare an ambition, by any means, even if it's a special Vox card or any means, the Feastbringer player must give one of their guild cards to the player with the least power, and it's not them. So if Feastbringer is last, they can't give it to themselves. They have to give it to another player who is next to last in that case. Additionally, the material is good for Feastbringer because if they're in a 2 building slot, they can build a starport to start building up their fleet, or they can choose for go starports. They could choose instead to go for a city spread strategy where they're trying to get all their cities out. And so you start with 5 buildings on your player board, and most of the time you start with a city on the map. Well, Feastbringer has 2 on the map. So that means they just need to build 3 cities. They get a bonus 5 points per ambition that they win. And so in the first round, when you have an ambition that's 5 points, 3 points, 2 points, if Feastbringer wins the first one, they're getting 10 points. They win the second one too. That's 8 points. So 18 points in the first chapter of Arcs. Feastbringer can explode and get a lot of points very fast if they go for the city spread strat, just because they're getting lore cards and they're getting guild cards with icons that will match whatever ambitions are declared by other players. So one way to combat against this for Feastbringer is just by going for Tyrant and Warlord. Tyrant and Warlord, Feastbringer has a hard time going for those 2 ambitions. So that's something to keep in mind if you're playing against Feastbringer, is that you can go for those 2 ambitions to try to mitigate what Feastbringer can do just with a court strategy. What to say about lore cards? Well, we got 5 here. Keeper's Solidarity is from the Leaders in Lore expansion pack, but the rest are from the base game. Hidden Harbors. You always build ships fresh. When defending in battle, the attacker cannot collect raid dice if you have a fresh defending starport. Hidden Harbor, in my opinion, this is probably the best lore in the game. It is a defensive lore, so that is something to keep in mind. But how can opponents damage your starports? How? Well, they either destroy all your ships and have a ship hit left to spend, and they can spend it on a starport, or they use raid dice. and use a raid building hit from a raid dice to hit your starport. Well, that isn't possible with Hidden Harbors. So you can never be raided if you have a fresh starport. So just keep that in mind that if you are Feastbringer and you're afraid of heat from the table, that they're going to raid you, they're going to attack you, Hidden Harbor is maybe your best bet. So you have to consolidate. So you can't do a city spread strat if your strategy is just to hunker down and hide. But with Hidden Harbors, your guild cards are safe. You are safe. Just because they cannot raid you. They have to blast you open and go all out assault just to hope they can just damage your starport and then they can raid you. Next lore, Cloud Cities. You may build cities on planets outside their building slots, a maximum of 1 per planet. This costs 1 resource of the planet type. Cloud Cities is a really good lore card. The cost of a resource does push it down a tier for me, but with Feastbringer, if you're going for a city spread strat, this is definitely something to keep an eye on, just because you don't want to spread out. You don't want to be all over the map trying to get all your cities out. If you can go to a 2-slot planet and put a starport and 2 cities on it, that is really, really strong for you. Or if you want to go all out, you could put 3 cities on it in a 2-slot planet. So I think Cloud Cities can be really strong with Feastbringer. It's just something to keep in mind that you do have to pay a resource that matches that planet type to do that. Similarly, we have gate stations. You may build cities on gates, a maximum of 1 per gate. A gate city's type matches all cities in its cluster. Players may tax it for 1 resource of any of those cities, and if that city is destroyed, you provoke outrage of all those city types. So I think gate stations is a better version of Cloud Cities. However, those cities could be very vulnerable. They could be taxed and will be taxed by other players. There'll be prized possessions for the whole table just because you can tax it to get any of those resources from those 3 planets. So that could be a fuel, material, or weapons, or it could be a psionic or a relic and material. There's a lot to like about gate stations, but just know that unless you can get a good way to put ships on the table consistently, your cities and the gates are just going to be attacked and raided or just taxed by the other players. Tool Priests. This is a replacement build action, so instead of building, you can summon. Once per turn, build 1 ship at any city you control. Yes, even rival city you control. With Tool Priests, this really encourages Feastbringer to go for the city spread strat, where you just putting all your cities on the table, and this lets you get your ships on the table too. And so with Tool Priest, you can go for all cities all the time and just slowly build up your fleet just through the Tool Priest action. Finally, we have Keeper Solidarity. While Keeper is declared, rivals cannot steal guild cards from you while you have any resources of the same type. If you have both Relics and Sworn Guardians, neither can be stolen. Keeper Solidarity is very strong with cartel cards because you have those resources. And so you can lock the cartel cards from being stolen from you and basically really have a good grip on Tycoon if you have Keeper declared. So that's an important caveat, that Keeper Solidarity does protect your guild cards and really protects the cartel cards, but only when Keeper is declared. And there may be hands and times when that's just not possible. That being said, because you're Feastbringer and because you're getting a ton of guild cards anyway, and people are going to look to see how they can raid you, having Keeper Solidarity and just having a way to just lock that up is really, really strong. Okay, we got a lot of cards here. I basically have three categories of cards here. The first category we're going to talk about are the Keeper cards, or the loyal cards. So loyal Keepers and loyal Impasse. This is just cards that you want that have a firmer grip on the court. So yes, you have your combo that you can pivot with an aggression card or copy an aggression card to secure and then influence first. But if other players have relics and psionics, they can do the same thing. And you may not have aggression cards. People may not lead with aggression cards where you can activate your ability. And so having little keepers and little impasse lets you just do it whenever you want. And this also prevents the table from doing something similar unless they can tax both psionics and relics. And so I think for Feastbringer, if you're going for all out on the court, this is the way you do it. You get little keepers, you get little impasse, and now you just lock the court down. Next category we're going to look at call to action and the union cards. So call to action says when secured, you draw one action card from the bottom of the action discard pile. Then you discard this Vox card. And then with the union cards, during your prelude, you can place this card next to a face-up card, and when the round ends, you draw that card into your hand and discard the guild card. And so there's 4 of those, one for each of the action card suits. The way you should think about these 5 cards is an extra turn. And it's an extra card, but if you get an extra card and you don't seize, then now instead of having 6 cards, you have 7. And so unless someone else had a way to get a 7th card, you're going to have a turn all by yourself to do whatever you want. That's very, very strong. Additionally, because you went last and no one else got a turn, you're going to keep the initiative for the next chapter, which again is very, very strong. And so having multiple of these, where instead of having 7 cards, you could have 8 cards or even a 9th card. While everyone else just had 6, or if they discarded to seize, they have 5. You're just doing laps around the table. And even if your action cards aren't the best, they just give you the last word, which is its own strategy in itself. Is just always making sure you have the last word, letting everyone else dictate what the terms are, letting them declare whatever the ambitions are, but making sure you have the last word, the final word. That often can be what it takes just to win multiple ambitions, just by having the last word. And the final card we're going to look at is Farseekers. Seekers. When you declare an ambition, look at a rival's hand. You may swap 1 card with them. In your prelude, you may discard this, and any number of action cards from your hand. You draw the same number of cards, including Farseers, from the bottom of the action discard pile. One downside to Feastbringer is that if you do have a hand of just 1 aggression card or no aggression cards, and the table realizes it, they could choose, we're just not going to deal with the court. We're just going to do other things and tax and have a good time and use relics to secure, and we're going to lock Feastbringer out. And that's possible. But Farseekers lets you, if you have a really bad hand, get rid of the bad cards and get an extra card, just like Call to Action, just like the Union cards. Farseekers also gives you another card. So for that reason, Farseers is one of the best cards in the game. But for Feastbringer, that's particularly useful just because you are going for a guild strategy, and the table can affect that and hamper you just by avoiding using aggression cards until the right time where they can punish you if you have a bad hand. Okay, so that's what I got for Feastbringer. I'm just going to go out and say I think Feastbringer is the best leader in the game. Even including the Leaders in Lore expansion pack, I do believe Feastbringer is probably the best leader in the game. He's definitely S tier. He can be stopped. He doesn't always win. But if he can get an engine where he controls the court and dominates the court, and lets the table decide what the ambitions are, and the table doesn't hone in on Tyrant and Warlord consistently, Feastbringer is just going to dominate. And even then, Feastbringer often will just get weapon guild cards just to discard them to get ships on the map. They will spread out with their cities, get weapon guild cards, discard the weapon guild cards just to get ships, and they're going to have more ships than anyone else without having any starports. It can be really tough to take down Feastbringer, but that's my advice. Go for Tyrant, go for Warlord, be wary of leaving an empty court, fill the court with agents, talk and have a lot of table talk with the other players saying, hey, I know you could get this, but I just don't want the Feastbringer just to get a free action card or get a free guild card that it can use to get a free action card. That's what I got. Hope you enjoy. Thanks.